On this super review, let's take a look at the Simgot EN700 Pro. All right, what we've got here is another in-ear monitor. This is from the company Simgot, and this is my first experience with Simgot. This is the EN700 Pro, and looking at their website, it actually looks like they've got a couple of different variations of the EN700. They all look very similar, but this one is clocking in at the most expensive. These things cost $150, and what's kind of interesting is that, as far as I can tell, it's just a single dynamic driver. And that's interesting to me just because it seems like other brands, when they get, they start charging more than $100, they feel obligated to throw more drivers into it. Simgot, they're just doing a single dynamic, and I think that's interesting. The other thing that is pretty interesting about the EN700 is the aesthetic. And you're gonna see that if you haven't seen pictures of it before, you're about to see it. It looks pretty cool. It kind of looks like an open back headphone. I don't know if it's actually gonna sound open, so let's go ahead and open it up and find out. All right, I've been listening to the Simgot EN700 Pro for about, actually a couple of weeks now, and I'm ready to let you know what I think. And overall, I'll just start out by saying I think this is a very nice pair of headphones. These things are coming in at around $150, and so I think like the competition for these are things like the Ikko OH1, the BGVP DMG, and we'll get into how those things compare when we talk about the sound. But just starting off with the build quality, there's a lot here to like about the Simgots. And the first thing that I really like about the Simgots is the aesthetic, which it's a unique look. There's not a lot out there that looks like this, and I appreciate Simgot doing something different. Now, it's an opinionated look. It's something that you may or may not particularly like, but I think it's a handsome look. And again, I appreciate them doing something unique. I did talk about during the unboxing that it looks kind of like it's got an open back design, and I can confirm that they don't sound open. There's no sound that's actually coming out of it. It's just an aesthetic choice, and again, I think it's a nice aesthetic. The shells are made out of aluminum, and they're solid all the way around. They're nice and smooth and comfortable in the ear. Just overall, I think pretty nice build on the shells. My only one small complaint is that, well, maybe my ears are actually a little bit too small for these. The shells are nice and smooth and round, and they fit pretty well into my ear, but they don't fit as snug or secure as some of the other headphones, like the BGVP DMG especially. And that just, it results in not discomfort, they're totally comfortable, but in my ears over time, I have to reseat them pretty frequently to make sure that I'm getting a nice seal. If you've got larger ears, I don't think you're gonna have that issue. In fact, you're probably gonna like the size of these things. But if you've got smaller ears, that's something to keep in mind. We can also talk about the cable, which is a very nice cable. It's not especially plush or especially thick. It's a little bit on the thin side, but it is a very nice looking cable, I think, and it behaves well. It doesn't, keep its memory, or it doesn't have a memory of its shape. It's just nice and comfortable to use. And you've got these nice ear hooks up here at the top, which do have a memory, and that's exactly what I like to see. And that brings us to talking about the sound of the Simgot EN700 Pro, which, like the build, I think they're doing a lot right here. The sound signature on this I would describe as a very familiar balanced sound. It's not to say that it's neutral at all. There's definitely a strong emphasis in the bass and some emphasis in the upper mid-range. But overall, like, this is kind of the sound signature, kind of a general sound signature that I think is gonna appeal to a lot of people. That bass has got a really nice sub-bass rumble to it without it ever feeling like overwhelming, or it's never like bleeding into the rest of the frequency range. And so the bass on these, I would actually say, is really, really quite satisfying. The upper mid-range lift is giving vocals a little bit stronger presence than you might get in a more neutral headphone, which again, is something that I appreciate. And then when you get to the treble region, sort of the high frequency ranges of this earphone, it's actually pretty relaxed. It doesn't feel dark at all, but the treble is definitely relaxed. And that means that it's not gonna be a fatiguing headphone to listen to. And there's basically no sibilance to speak of. Those are excellent, excellent things to say about a headphone. But it also does mean that if you're really into micro detail and treble and like feeling, I don't know, treble detail tends to really elevate the sense of space. You don't get so much of that here. Now, that's not to say that the sound stage and the instrument separation aren't strong here. They're very solid. They're about what you would expect. But if you are looking for that extra treble sparkle, these don't have it. If you're looking for something that's more relaxed and a little bit less fatiguing to listen to, well, that's what the Simgot has got. Compared directly to the Ikko OH1, in terms of sound, I actually think they're pretty similar. I've seen graphs of them compared directly to each other, and on graphs, the Ikko OH1 has stronger bass presence, but in listening, in my experience, the bass on them was kind of about even. The upper mid-range emphasis, again, pretty even between these two headphones. If there was one difference that stood out, it would be sort of in the treble region, where I think there's a little bit more emphasis here on the Simgot. And now I just got done talking about the treble here being pretty relaxed, but if you've heard the Ikko OH1, that is, I think, a little bit more relaxed. And that on the Ikko, it starts to get into just slightly dark territory. These things never sound dark to me. So there is a little bit more treble emphasis here, and I think I like that. The only slight downside versus the Ikko, the thing that might keep me going back to the Ikko, is that the Ikkos fit my ears better. I don't have to reseat them the way that I do sometimes with the Simgots. And then versus the BGVP DMG, I already said that those things have the best fit, and in back-to-back comparison, it's very obvious that, at least for my ears, those things fit by far the most secure. But in terms of sound quality, those are actually also, I would say, the most different. The DMGs are versus the other two here that I'm comparing. The DMG, I would say, is a little bit more obvious of a V, where you've got a little bit more treble extension and just kind of a bigger, slightly floppier bass on the DMG. And also you get a little bit less emphasis in the upper mid-range. So what that means is that I compared to at least the Ikkos and the Simgots here, the vocals on the BGVP DMG don't come as far forward. And again, the bass is a little bit bigger, a little bit, I don't know, you could say that the soundstage on the DMG feels a little bit more exciting. But if you're into vocal presence, I think that both the Ikko and especially the Simgot are doing a little bit better there. So out of 5 stars, I'd give the Simgot EN700 Pro a solid 4 stars out of 5. I think that these things are doing quite a lot right. The build is very nice on them. They don't fit my ears quite as well as I would hope, But the overall build and the aesthetic here, again, is something that I really appreciate. The sound quality in these things is excellent, a lot of clarity, I love that emphasis in the vocals without it ever feeling shouty. Again, the treble is nice and smooth, but it's still there. It's not rolled off into oblivion. These things don't sound dark at all. They're just a really nice, well-balanced sound in my opinion. If you're interested in checking out the Simgot EN700 Pro, of course, I've got links in the description down below. That wasn't supposed to rhyme, but it did. While you're down there, you can hit the like button for the video if you liked it. You can subscribe to the channel, and then I'll see you in the next super review.